Previously in X-Men, Wolverine is in Japan on an adventure all around deceit and duty and death. And he's trying to uncover the mystery of his true love's new marriage to some other dude and the appearance of her long-believed dead father, Shingen, the crime lord. Add a femme fatale into the mix, and trouble is in the air for our man Logan. And today we will be reading not an X-Men comic, but just X-Men adjacent. We're reading Wolverine Volume 1, Number 3. I am Jason Lapidus.
I am Chris Sanagan.
And we are Group of 7 Comics. Welcome to episode 72 of our never-end... Is it 72 or 71?
One of them.
72 of our never-ending Tuesday night live stream as we read through the X-Men comics that became classic. This is a cover date of November of 1982. Very excited to get into this issue, my friend Chris. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I excited to talk comics after a weekend of talking comics.
Yes, we had a very busy weekend at Toronto Comic Con. That was a lot of fun. That was a huge show. Was it our best show that we've ever had in terms of...
if not, it's up there.
I mean,
it could very well be.
Just to not talk like too much detail, but we didn't have a table fee.
No table fee.
So in terms of like earnings and sales and all that kind of stuff, it was a very good show for us.
Yes, it was.
And saw a lot of really happy people.
Yes.
Got a lot of really positive feedback from people. Saw some friends of the show. Lots of X-Men fans who hopefully are going to join us or watch our show at some point, either tonight or down the road. So it was a real positive thing on so many different fronts. Did you see any cool X-Men stuff when you were there on Friday?
I saw cool X-Men t-shirts, and every time I did, I said, "Come over here. We do a show about X-Men."
Right.
And as soon as they would kind of be like, "What?" And then we'd say, "Oh, we're actually currently just doing the classic Claremont runs with Byrne and Cockrum, and we're doing the Wolverine." "Oh, really?" They would get pretty excited. So that demographic seemed to be hit, but and we have seen some of our subscriber numbers kind of pop up a bit over the weekend. So
sure,
all to say, I saw some cool X-Men. I think the first guy, one of the first people who patroned the table and picked up one of your sketches or your original art of a Kirby version of the X-Men #1. He just went, "Oh," and he did this, and he went, "As all the villains,
right.
All the villains of the X world, of the X-verse." It was cool.
Yeah, he reached out to me today. He reached out to me today on the Instagram to say hi. His name is Justin.
That's right, Justin. That's right.
Hey, Justin. Shouts to Justin.
Shouts to J-Man.
I got to talk to another guy on Saturday who worked on X-Men Days of Future Past. He was in the camera department. And
filmed in
we were
Toronto,
chatting.
yes, right?
What's that?
Filmed in Toronto as part of do we know?
I don't know.
There's so much filmed in Toronto. I just didn't know if that was like an easier connection. Anyway, sorry, you were saying.
The ones that I can remember, obviously with the original X-Men, they filmed a lot of that in Toronto and Hamilton.
Yeah.
And with X2, I think it was something similar. Or maybe they might have moved the mansion to BC, I think, for that one.
Right.
And then with the third one, so much of that is out in the forest and the mountains. Like that's BC again. Right. But I don't remember with Days of Future Past where it was filmed. I'm assuming it was in Canada, but
I just did a quick Google, and it looks like it was in Montreal.
What?
Yeah, Montreal was the big site for Days of Future Past.
Interesting. So there's like a few different like massive set pieces or settings to consider, whether it was the street in the 1970s or whether it was the Pentagon or the the stadium that they that whole thing. Like I don't know. It's interesting.
I wonder if that was Olympic Stadium then.
I do not know.
Where those
the
Spos used to play,
It was fun to think about and talk to the gentleman who was there looking at some fun X-Men art.
That's cool.
And he was really nice. And we were just talking a little bit about, what it was like to be on set with particular personalities that are infamous now. And he said, everything you hear about that director is true. Like, all right. And he says, everything you like about that director is the director of photography. Because the movies do look really good when his shots are really good. But that's the DP.
Yeah.
I see Conrad from Wednesday Night Reviews for the big fight at the end, maybe. I think he's referring to Olympic Stadium. Yeah, that's very possible. Conrad, how are you? Hope you're having a good night. That you have recovered from a busy weekend at Toronto Comic Con, which was at the beautiful Metro Toronto Convention Center North building for the first time.
Hey, what'd you think about that?
Loved it.
Any thoughts?
Easier access, like easier to get in and out from a tabling point of view. Like we were in one building. It was like quick to get. Sure it was a couple elevators, but it was a quick one. And then I loved having windows as opposed to being underground. We were at street level or above street level slightly and just getting a natural light all weekend, which I greatly appreciate. Conrad says, how's it going, guys? It's going pretty good, Conrad. We're always in a good mood to do our show and happy you're here too.
Yeah.
Conrad says,
go ahead.
I'm feeling good and have many interviews lined up. Attaboy. So anyone out there, check out Conrad's channel of Wednesday Night Reviews, where Conrad, you interview all sorts of indie creators of comics, and it's a lot of fun. We had the good pleasure of having one with you, or having like a 90-minute. There's a long interview between the three of us, and that was a lot of fun to do years ago, just when we were all young lads.
And speaking of Conrad at Comic-Con, two things. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna be on Conrad's show at some point, Wednesday Night Reviews, and also Conrad is gonna be on this show. We're gonna find an issue. Conrad's gonna join us for a Previously in X-Men at some point.
That would be phenomenal.
Yes.
We'll have to answer this skill testing question. What is Wolverine's other name? Anyway, in this issue, Logan. Oh no, Zut.
Can I lay down a little bit of trivia, but also just kind of exceptional serendipity that happened as well this weekend when it comes to X-Men. I did tag you in this picture, so you might have a bit of a laugh about it. But so I was checking out my local used record store and came across a vinyl record band called the Perth County Conspiracy Does Not Exist. And I had heard about this band. They are from Stratford, Ontario, which is in Perth County in southwestern Ontario. And in the late 60s, early 70s, they're like a very much a hippie focused kind of collective of actors and musicians, including a bunch who were involved in the famous Shakespeare Festival in Stratford, including one by the name of Cedric Smith, who ends up not only being a Shakespearean actor, but an English-Canadian actor who in the 80s comes to prominence on CBC with the show The Campbells, and then the early 90s joins Road to Avonlea, which of course is the sequel, highly successful show with Sarah Polley that follows the adventures post Anne of Green Gables in that universe. Cedric Smith played that role. And then after that, he voiced Professor X on the 90s hit animated series X-Men. And so Jason, of course, does Professor X on our show. And so now I know that he's not just channeling Professor X. He's channeling Road to Avonlea's Cedric Smith.
That was deep.
Wasn't it?
You went way off. Wow.
There you go.
I got talking to a couple other very passionate fans of X-Men on Sunday at Toronto Comic Con. And they reminded me, of course, that the series is often, I guess, an analogy for the civil rights movement of the 1960s. And I was just thinking about that on my walk this morning with the dog. About have we come across? I mean, we've been reading 72 issues of X-Men comics, and again, this run of X-Men is so essential that That is what Marvel calls it, Essential X-Men.
Right.
When you repackage it in the phone book style in black and white newsprint, when Marvel started reprinting them in singles, they called it Classic X-Men. So it's clear that they consider this run to be the seminal run of the series, the definitive run. And we have seen so many elements that first debut in this run as being the groundwork for things moving forward. My question to you, sir, is out of the 72 issues that we have read of X-Men, how many times have you found that this series and the characters and the plot and the themes are that closely linked to being like a metaphor for the civil rights movement? What do you think?
Well, off the top of my
If
head,
I had to give it like a binary, yay or nay, where would you go?
from the 72 issues, I'd say nay.
I'd say nay as well. There has been a moment or two.
Yeah, and there's been a moment or two that discusses persecution and things like disenfranchisement and things along that and discrimination, things along those nature, but not in any condensed way or not in any way in which
a meaningful way.
It seems to be the primary arc of a story, right? A little bit in Days of Future Past because of the because of the setup and like mutants are in camps and things like that.
So do you think it is the readers of this run and Claremont in hindsight that start to reframe the series as a metaphor for that conversation, where it's not actually in its initial intent, because it's really just like boys' adventure comics still, kind of like it's superhero. It just happens to be that the twist on superhero is that there is a class or an othering. But it's not the crux of it.
But it's not. Yeah, it's certainly not. It doesn't hit you over the head. Like it's
no,
pretty
not
subtle.
yet.
And if we think of like the Sentinels as an antagonist of being,
they're kind of like SS a little bit.
Yeah, and they kind of come and go, but again, it's super. It's kind of within the moment. There's not a lot of longevity to that particular theme currently. I don't believe there have been anyway. It hasn't stuck out for either of us in this 72 issue run so far.
Right. So I do find it interesting because I've heard that that idea presented many times over the last 20 years, that the Professor X magnetodynamic is one of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Okay.
In that one is sort of more militant and one is non-violent.
Sure.
And it really isn't in this part of the seminal run of X-Men yet. I think it's looking back at it through certain glasses. People are reframing its origins in that way, and I think Stan also has talked about it as in that as he always reframes the past to make him sound more sophisticated and relevant than he might have actually been at the time.
Right.
I think they were just looking for
intentional.
Right. The intention was to repeat the FF.
Right.
And have a series called The Mutants, and it was like, they're outcasts, but I don't think he had necessarily the higher purpose that it sounds like when you reframe it as a analogy for the civil rights movements. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there because I'm now it's another thing I'm going to be looking for, like hints of where that comes from. Just like we're reading Wolverine, so like I was saying before, we have been reading these 69 X-Men comics, and we've veered off once before to read an X-Men story in an Avengers comic written by Chris Claremont, drawn by the amazing Michael Golden, featuring Rogue's first appearance. That was our first departure from the series, I believe. We also did an episode where we watched the animated series. We watched a pilot for a proposed animated series in 1989 that didn't go through. And then, of course, we read Wolverine Volume 1, Issue 1 and 2, which are, again, by Chris Claremont with Frank Miller on pencils. And it is X-Men adjacent, but it's in the right chronology. We're on the right time period. So what I was going to say was that idea about how people reframe and retcon what happens in the X-Men. People are also reframing who Wolverine is as a character. And if you read it in real time, as we just have over the last year, there are no signs that he has amnesia. Zero.
Right.
There are signs that he doesn't know his lineage other than his dad, but that to me was always more an indication
But he keeps talking about, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Of like maybe growing up in poverty or growing up in in seclusion, perhaps, and just knowing he's growing up with his dad, or maybe meeting his dad and growing up in an orphanage. We don't really know. Is more mystery, but it's never been that he is a man without a past. It hasn't been framed that way yet.
Right.
We know that he was experimented on just barely. They mentioned that. He's augmented for sure, that he has mutant powers. We know that he spent a lot of time in Japan. He's fluent in Japanese. He respects Japanese culture. We knew all those things leading up to this issue.
We know he has a history of being a secret agent.
Yes, secret agent as well.
That comes up a number of times. I used to run these operations, or my previous experience in the Canadian Secret Service. Absolutely.
But there's no man without a past, no amnesia, no tortured past.
Right.
So that version comes in 10 years or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting, like the character is already successful enough to get his own title. Yeah. And he doesn't have those elements that people think, oh, you can't have Wolverine without that. Like, actually, we've had years now, almost 6 years or 7 years of Wolverine in X-Men without any element of amnesia or missing parts of his past. So it's interesting how things get reframed over time. I'm fascinated by it.
Right. And I think what you're getting at is that for it's certainly modern, current conversations about, or current beliefs or expectations about these characters and who they should be and where they should come from, and these kind of inherent qualities they have. As we, you match that up against us currently going through the essential run of which you would think be represented, and we haven't hit them yet. Right? For the most part. What we have hit are essential story arcs that they have taken and turned into different media.
Right.
That's what we've hit. That's what we've seen. That's what we can easily extract.
For sure.
So it's an interesting. Yeah, you're right. That's an interesting observation that we'll have to keep our eye on, I think, moving forward.
So I guess connecting to what you just said, so just to tie this issue or this series into other media, I just say the word series, and Siri comes on. Damn it. The movie called The Wolverine from, again, I've already forgotten the year. I'm going to say 2013. That is the closest adaptation to this limited run that we've seen in other media. And there are some neat parts taken from it and some big differences. The largest difference maybe we could say would be two things. The role of Yukio and the role of Shingen, in contrast with that in the film. So you can kind of keep your eye on that. It's a lot of fun.
2013.
I feel amazing. All right. Should we dive into this bad boy?
I think we should.
Oh, just to Conrad's comment about James Howlett, like he's joking around with me about what his other name is. Like that whole thing about James Howlett, out the door, dude. It's like not part of any of this. Like Logan is his name. There isn't a third name to him. His real name is Logan, and that's all he knows. I wonder if we'll ever get over all of the. Did you ever read Wolverine Origin?
I didn't.
I wonder if continuity people will ever just get past it, because it doesn't.
That's like his time as a kid in 1800s or something. Is that what this?
Someone thinks it is his time. I don't think it's his time. I think it's someone else wanting to get their name on the Wolverine legend. So they wrote a story that shows us how he was raised and when his powers first showed themselves and the setting in which he was. He was like a child of aristocracy, landowners, but he was the product of an affair between one of the grounds crew, the roughest grounds crew guy, and the missus of the estate.
Right.
And he then is cast out and goes on the run and suffers all sorts of weird traumas along the way.
Right.
Anyway, ready? Got Here, watch this. Boom.
Kaboom!
I have to give an apology to anyone who came to this live stream hoping that we would see a newsprint version of this issue. All my sources for a newsprint version failed, and we are relegated to looking at digital colors today, which is the first time on this show and hopefully the last time. Issue 4, which I have, is going to be newsprint again, but this one I could not find a copy. I could not find scans of the original newsprint, so we'll notice some spots where it really stands out, but maybe that's interesting from the point of contrast. Here's the original art of the cover. Look at that.
Is that in one of your books, or is that just you find it online?
I found it online.
Cool.
It might be in one of my books, but I didn't even look because once I found this, it was just so nice to compare. Like, I love that, Miller has the expectation on his anchor to fill it all in, dude.
You mean
Color
Wolverine anchor
all
Joe
in.
Wednesday?
I wasn't going to even name him. I'm so mad.
So mad.
Just so much rage. So yeah, it's like, no, fill it all in. You're going to ink this thing. And it's such a contrast from the previous two covers. Even they were both, one was, Wolverine in action, jumping at the camera. One was Wolverine telling you to come closer as he's going to cut you. And this one, we see a broken man, not in costume either.
No, it's
just a lonely broken man.
It's a wonderful front cover.
It is. It really is. It's fantastic. It's really evocative. And I'm always just perplexed by the hair. And I think this is one of the best versions of Wolverine's hair in this series. Like, it looks like a helmet piece. Like, you could take that off and put it back on again. It looks really cool.
We had talked about that, right? Last issue, we had said when Wolverine, comes into the MCU, will he be masked? It's not something we've actually seen yet.
No, and nor do I think it needs to be. He has shown his broader appeal or his broader recognition happens without having the mask on.
Do you know the next line?
TJ Ninja Turtles is just a broken man on a Halifax pier. No, what is the next line?
The last of Xavier's. No, privateers. No. Stan Rogers, Barrett's Privateers.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm a broken man on a Halifax pier, the last of Barrett's Privateers. No?
Nicely done. No,
Colbert sings it anytime he has a Canadian guest on. He asks him to sing it. And so, like, Bublé did a pretty good version of it. And yeah, it's a lot. There you go. The last of Xavier's Privateers.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I am not well versed in my Stan Rogers, and I'm not embarrassed to admit that, but maybe that needs to change. I don't know how long I can stomach it. Truthfully, like that style of music just doesn't speak to me at all, and I probably would get frustrated. I don't know. I need a little bit of edge when I listen to music.
I hear you, man.
Oh, TJ Turtles going.
76.
I love it. I love it. That's great. Anyway, cool cover. Really evocative. And not what you'd expect from a comic book from like mainstream comic, right? Like, this is, if you were to look at this month in Marvel, this would be the only comic book that looks this way. So that's kind of cool. All right.
So you're back to being Wolverine this issue.
I am back to being Wolverine this issue. There's going to be a lot of Wolverine this issue.
A lot of Wolverine.
Do we need to recap what's happened in the past two issues? Just ever so briefly?
Sure.
I guess the end of the last issue, what we really get is that Wolverine is torn between two parts of his life. He's come to Japan to find out why his betrothed is not answering his calls, and he finds out, of course, that she is married and can no longer speak to him, and her father is back in the picture. And he also is then shamed by her father, Shingen, and finds himself on a weird tangent with an assassin. And he's helping out his new lady friend assassin, Yukio, as she says that she needs to get herself out of the clutches of this crime lord, Shingen. And Wolverine gets in the middle of it, and he shows his brutality in front of his love, Mariko, She sees him as a monster. Yukio has played him completely so that he would further distance himself from Mariko, and now he is probably as far away from his goal as he's ever been in his life, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we find him in the third part of a 4-parter. Are you ready, Chris?
Oh, yes. Stan Rogers on my brain. Let's do this.
I'm Wolverine. I'm the best there is at what I do. I used to be a secret agent. I used to be a hero. Now, I'm drunk and loving every minute of it. The clown on my back's named Takahashi. He's a Sumatori, a sumo wrestler. He could have been a champion, but he cheats. Blacklisted from the professional ring. He earns his living in these illegal barroom bashos. In this arena, he's undefeated. He's got a buddy on his back. And I like the colors. Like, yeah, everything else is green. Make the characters in the front pop.
Yeah, and quick art piece, and I found this interesting. So that bottom, the main panel there at the bottom as he's flipping him, it actually, if you're, depending on how you're looking at it, if you look at it quickly, it almost looks like they've swapped heads.
Yeah, it is a weird one.
Right? It's actually not clear. I'm just saying his other panels are much more cleaner. This is actually like a double take? What?
I think part of the problem is the coloring, like all the flesh in kind of a big pile. That could be it. And maybe having one arm covering up Wolverine's neck so he can't see really his head attached to the body. Yeah, it's like when you do the thumb trick where you pull the top of your thumb off. It's like, you wrap your finger around. Now, I don't want to spoil that trick for anyone. Never mind. But yeah, that is an easy one to misread for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
When I challenged him, he laughed. Sucker ain't laughing anymore as I do a jig to Stan Rogers.
So yes, this actually reminds me a bit of, and maybe I don't think we've seen it, but because we have the history of Alpha Flight and Puck, the way Puck moves, and I mean, we've already met Alpha Flight, but Puck's not part of it yet because he's not part of the team yet. He shows up in the first, issue 2 or 3 of Alpha Flight?
Issue 1.
Oh, issue 1? Okay.
Yeah.
But he kind of moves like this, like kind of acrobatic, a little clownish, or whatever, however you want to. And this is a really fun panel. Because of how much we enjoy the other material, to me, it's like an automatic lineage from this to Puck.
Sure. I also am interested in how little Miller is doing in the background. Mm-hmm. Like, there's nothing there. There has yet to be a background in any of the first, however many panels that is. It's kind of funny that he gets away with it. Go ahead.
It's also with his strength, like how strong.
Right.
So it's like he's lifted, like that third piece. He's got him lifted it above his head.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, that's right. So how strong? One thing we talk about over this series is sometimes the inconsistencies of power sets. And I'm gonna let this slide just because we love this comic. Who knows? Maybe super strong. But this is one of those times you're kind of that's a Colossus move.
Let's say the sumo wrestler is 300 pounds.
Okay, let's say.
So if you can just lift 300 pounds above your head and jump, and like if you look at the way he's doing it, he's not even exerting himself.
No,
it's like effortless to lift this guy up. I like the idea that Wolverine actually has more in him. Like he can cut loose. Absolutely. And has kind of reminds me of Unbreakable. Like you don't know how strong you are unless you're kind of forcing yourself to take a look and actually measure. Exactly. But I love to think Wolverine is, like Captain America strong.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Conrad says, I like the panels are also fairly tight in the action, which draws you into the fight. Yeah, there isn't anything else going on there, for sure. Looking at that fourth panel on that page, also, like you see all these people are freaking out, and Yukio is just chilling. Like that's how your introduction to her in this issue. She's having a drink, having a smoke, leaning back, not the least bit surprised. I think that's a great depiction. David Cutler, how are you, sir? Long time no see. He's smiling and dancing a little jig. Yeah, it's amazing. It is a lot of fun. Much like you on a Saturday night.
To Stan
Smiling and
Rogers.
dancing a little jig.
To Stan Rogers.
To Stan Rogers, yeah. Front row center for the match is Yukio. She's my lady. Tak's a renegade, but he's got his pride. He doesn't like losing. He decides to do something about it. Bad move. He makes me mad. And when I get mad, I'm not very nice. I could have killed him, but he isn't worth the effort. So I just threw him through a plate glass window.
And let the window do my job for me.
Yeah. And then here we go. We get, the colorist is having a chance to kind of give us the sense of the street,
Right.
So Miller has probably pulled a reference for a car out of a magazine, or something that they would call in those days his morgue file. He might have even, traced over something to get this photograph. And we have a character leaning up against this, also having a smoke. This is a character we saw in the first issue. It is a comrade of Wolverine's from his spy days. So this is a recurring character.
Asano.
His friend's name is Asano, and this is So clearly, Asano is sort of following Wolverine to some degree. The perspective on this is a little weird. Like the whole, these are like different elements that don't necessarily go together, like disparate elements. But you kind of let it slide because it's fine,
Absolutely.
As well, he says that Yukio is his lady. So that means between the issues of, Wolverine horrifying his love, Mariko, and the start of this issue, something has altered with him and Yukio. He's sort of let himself maybe surrender to his baser instincts and sort of foregone his righteous path. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
Like we got the sense in the last issue that he flat out says that he wants to be a better man, and he can only think of Mariko.
Mm-hmm.
And although his body is reacting to Yukio, his heart is not. So at this point, he's drunk and he's doing it with her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, does that say Kurosawa?
I see that as well.
Okay.
So that would probably be, a reference to
A little reference.
Akira Kurosawa, the revolutionary, amazing, groundbreaking Japanese film director of things like Seven Samurai and Hidden Castle or Hidden Fortress and many more. Throne of Blood, to name just a few. Cool. Now I have to also say the pagination here. So like the spreads are not self-evident in how I received the files. So I had to make some assumptions. And I'm hoping I have the spreads nice so that they do make some sense. But the last issue, I thought the spreads were really interesting. And there were a lot of, 1-2 punches that made complete sense. In this issue, not so much. It's not, there are 1 or 2, but you'll see what I mean. I'm feeling no pain as Yukio and I head outside. I'm a mutant, you see. My body possesses a natural fast healing ability that enables me to resist any disease or poison, survive almost any wound. It comes in real handy when partying. We've been partying pretty much nonstop since we met, raising Cain from one end of Tokyo to the other, living like there's no tomorrow. I have other talents as well. I'm strong and fast, and my senses are keener than most animals. Even as blitzed as I am, I recognize the man waiting for us. By the way, this is how I knew what the word blitzed meant.
Yeah, right.
This issue taught me, a 10-year-old, what blitzed meant. So he does say that he is strong, right? Like he's strong and fast, like better than a regular person. And, for anyone who's like, why is Wolverine introducing himself in the 3rd issue? There was a mandate in Marvel at the time that from the editor-in-chief, Jim Shooter, on down, that every comic is someone's first comic. So you got to tell who every single character is in every issue, which leads me to a quick tangent. We got a comment on one of the videos that Angel's bones are hollow. Did you read that one?
I did see that. Yeah.
And I'm going to just counter that for fun. Like, I'm not actually antagonistic about it, but within the comics we've read, Claremont is under mandate to tell about everyone's powers all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He has never once mentioned that Angel had hollow wings.
Hmm.
So that makes me think it's a retcon. It wasn't originally in the text.
Interesting.
There you go.
There you go.
Asano Kimura, Japanese Secret Service. What's doing, compadre?
I am well, Logan. Pity the same cannot be said for you. What are you trying to prove?
Not a thing, bub. Just doing what comes naturally.
Logan, I ask your help. Someone has taken over the entire Japanese underworld and welded them into a power base, from which he means to seize control of the country itself.
What's that to me?
My government wants this plot smashed and the man responsible neutralized. But I cannot do the job alone. I need you. I need you too, lover. Logan, as a friend.
Your hand, Sano. Move it or lose it. He has his answer.
Woo-hoo.
We go our separate ways. What
Wait.
an awesome panel.
Wait, my brothers. The time is not yet ripe.
That's translated from the Japanese.
What a panel. What a page.
It's awesome. And like this one, this feels right out of many things, including Daredevil, including Sin City. Obviously, it's perfect for this. There's something like this also in the Wolverine when Wolverine does go to the ancestral town of the Yoshida clan. There are ninjas all over the rooftops, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is right on a Ninja Turtles.
Very 302, right? Like the.
Oh yeah.
You see Miller, taking that to that effect. Yeah.
Super cool.
Super cool.
These kinds of images again had a huge impact on me as a young reader, wanting to replicate that kind of thing all the time.
Sure. Even just the angle.
Yeah.
Like the angle of the line of sight is. Hey, who's doing this? You know what I mean?
Yep. And I'm just blown away by how little of the settings actually there. You got the wind on the street, which is a very the wind being conveyed by the paper blowing by. And it's like right out of a combination of Will Eisner's The Spirit and right out of a Kurosawa movie where you see like nature moving through wind and grass and tumbleweeds, that kind of thing. And then you get the sort of shingles of the rooftop in silhouette and a little bit of the cobblestone. And that's all you get. And it gives you everything you need. Really sparse on the backgrounds.
Yeah.
What are we doing here out in the middle of nowhere, darling? I thought we were headed back to my place.
Later, my love. The night is still young. There's still much to do.
If you say so. Whoa. I'm reeling. Catch me, darling.
Oof. What a weight. I cannot hold you.
We fall, laughing. She feels good in my arms. A perfect fit.
This is my secret, my favorite place, Logan. You're the first I've ever brought here.
I'm honored. Now what do I do?
You have to ask. We wait for the final moment, Logan, and then we go.
No fooling. What are you waiting for?
You'll see.
The bottle falls, shatters. I'm hazy. 'Cause of the booze, and neither senses nor skull are operating anywhere near peak efficiency. The pieces are there, a vibration on the earth, on the tracks, a rush of air, a subsonic rumble. Only takes me a while to sort them out. When I do, I move fast. Did you watch Bullet Train yet, by the way?
I have watched Bullet Train. Highly enjoyed Bullet Train.
You did?
I did.
I did a lot of eye rolling.
You did a lot of eye rolling?
I did. I wanted that movie to end like 20 times.
I watched. Okay, I'm gonna put some context on it.
Go ahead.
I watched it on a flight, and it was a really excellent airplane movie. If that makes sense to you, really excellent. Okay, so there you go. That's all you need. I watched it. The kids were watching something else. I had 2 hours and watched it, and it was a good choice for an airplane.
Right. I watched it here at home and had it interrupted 20 times.
Sure.
Yeah. Moving on.
I forget. I just say quickly. I forget how charming Brad Pitt can be.
Yeah.
Like I really do. I just forget how charming he can be as an actor.
He's tons of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you flaming crazy, woman? Playing chicken with a 200-mile-per-hour bullet train? Do you want to die?
Does it matter? I will eventually soul you. But until then, Logan, I want to live every moment to the fullest. And when I die, I wish to die spectacularly. Whether you admit it or not, my love, you are the same. Sleep, Logan-chan. Do not fear. I'll protect you.
This picture of her, I never found her visually like appealing or attractive in this picture. I find that like it's a really tough match to get Miller and the inker to like come up with a way to make her look beautiful. I think maybe it's too much rendering on the teeth, makes it look like she's got gaps in her teeth. And maybe that she was kind of missing some teeth. I don't know.
Wolverine's kind of lady.
I think Miller is probably a little loose on some of the pencils. And the inker decides to maybe emphasize some things and not other things, and it doesn't always work.
Right.
Now, this is, to me, was a clear, like, 2-page spread, you know?
Oh, yes.
Like, you got the top left and the bottom right mirroring each other, and the color is clearly, you know, it's kind of unified. So I thought it'd be a nice one. Who is that?
It's my dog.
You better teach that dog a lesson.
Ooh.
I sleep. I dream. A warrior rides out of the west to win the hand of the woman he loves. She is Mariko, the daughter of a great house, heir to an ancient, noble line. He is a rude, rough-hewn man of common stock, but his skill and courage are legend. He thinks that is enough to make him worthy of her, but he finds the gates of her home barred, the walls lined with archers. Turn away, Gaijin, he is told. You are not welcome here. The odds are impossible, the cause hopeless. Yet not for a moment does the warrior hesitate. He attacks. The battle is terrible. Finally, wounded unto death, the warrior drags himself into the castle's courtyard, and there, at last, beholds the face of his beloved. Why, he asks. My love is for a man, she replies, not a beast clad in human form, who knows nothing of honor or duty, or any of the beliefs I hold most dear. Worthy of me? You're not even worthy of life. Her arrow pierces his soul, casting him screaming back into the abyss, out of which he had struggled so long ago. And although he lives, the proud warrior is in truth no more. I dream. I weep.
Damn.
This really sums up the whole thing, right?
Yeah,
like this
exactly.
Puts it in a particular context.
I feel bad for that horse, by the way. You know, it takes like 1,000 arrows.
Yeah. Well, you don't know what the horse did to deserve that. Maybe. Anyway.
Just had unrelenting loyalty.
Yes.
What's the meaning of this? Do you want to do that?
Sure.
Too? Might as well.
Our mutual employer is displeased, Yukio-chan. You were told to slay the Gaijin Wolverine. You have not done so. Lord Shingen will not tolerate such disobedience even from you. However, out of respect for your ability and your past loyal service, he offers an opportunity to redeem yourself. Kill Wolverine, here, now, or we will kill you.
Okay. His bones are made of unbreakable metal. You know, and his body can heal virtually any wound.
Cut out his heart.
Sounds good to me. But for that, I'll need my blades. The hand comprises the finest assassins on Earth, and there are 5 of them to 1 of me. My kind of fight.
Woman, you have signed your death warrant. Neither Shingen nor the hand will rest until...
Gotcha. Wake up, lover. We have to get out of here. Logan, I'm serious. We're in trouble. Wake up.
Mariko.
Oh, no, you didn't.
She kicks him in the face.
Exactly.
And leaves him there drunk and unconscious. Boo earns.
Who earns?
And off she runs into the night.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought these two also matched as a 2-page spread. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they have the even the dialogue, you know, is kind of mirrors his dialogue. My kind of fight, 5 to 1. You know, like
yeah. Well, they are kind of cut from the same cloth. These two,
right? Exactly. So it just kind of
she lacks something key. She lacks the ambition to be better.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I won't take that too seriously. Let's keep moving.
Yes. He still loves her. He always will, the fool. I can make him happy. I'm right for him. Why can't he see that? Mariko, may she rot in hell, is the only woman for him, and he's the only man for me. I curse the day I met him. He's destroyed me. Well, thanks to him, my death should be everything I've yearned for. Shingen always accepted and indulged my wild nature. But this time I've gone too far. He'll never forgive me. That poses a problem, whose solution is as obvious as it is simple. The door. Logan, no, too tentative. The hand? Oh.
No. I wake, sore and aching. And no wonder. Yukio's kick flaming near snapped my spine. To find myself surrounded by the remains of 5 of the hand. Evidently, they disintegrate when they're beaten. Very tidy. And this next panel, I have absolutely no idea why this was drawn this way. It looks like he is taking a piss in the corner. You know, it is such an odd... Okay, I always thought his walking was a little weird, but that's consistent with Miller at the time, like that walking in. I've seen lots of that in Daredevil. But this one of like him going to, as if he's struggling to turn a door handle. Like he's put a lot of his weight into it, kind of, to squeeze that handle. It looks really, really weird. Anyway.
He's just marking his territory.
Yeah. No,
sir, there's a bathroom right here.
Or at least in the plants, sir.
Yeah. Sir, please, at least in the plants.
This might be the weakest panel in the entire series. Like I don't think it communicates what he's trying to communicate. Anyway.
Yeah.
No sign of Yukio. I figure she's furious. My fault for babbling Mariko's name. That we'll deal with as best we can. What worries me is the hand. David says, oh
no.
He's found a hole in the wall where the man can see it all. Oh no. Okay, David.
Yeah.
Oh man. Their interest in Yukio should have ended with the death of their employer, the crime lord, Katsuyori. Why are they still after her? Now, I wasn't really clear before. I said that the crime lord was Shingen, but of course Wolverine thinks the crime lord was Katsuyori.
Mm-hmm.
I was in my recap, I was ahead of the protagonist of the series. We as readers, I think, are pretty sure it's Shingen. I think everyone kind of knows it, but Wolverine doesn't know it yet because he's been listening to Yukio tell him lies.
Lies.
I start to call her name. Then, on the threshold, I freeze. There's no light. I don't need it. Scent tells me there's a corpse in the room. Also, who it is. Asano. Oh, man. His old buddy's dead. And here I did find the original art in low res for this page as well. And since I was talking before about the pagination. Not sure what the 2-page spreads were going to be. I thought this one actually, I wasn't sure the 2 pages, like the 2-page spreads moving from this one. I thought this one was okay on its own.
Right.
But I thought it was kind of neat just to see again that there isn't a lot of indication as to what the buildings are. Like maybe it's kind of a little bit in pencil back there still on the art. But you know, those buildings are not inked in, right? That's color hold stuff. And you can see some screen is used in that 3rd panel as well, you know, in front of Logan's eyes.
Yeah.
I love that panel, by the way. Actually, I think all these panels are really cool. His use of silhouette is fantastic. And like very little background. Some staging, right? With the room with the tree and the lamp, couch, etc.
Yeah, again, it's that minimal, right?
Yeah.
It looks great.
It does. It really does. One of Yukio's spikes in his neck. I'm a loner. By nature, by choice. I don't have many friends. Asana was among the oldest and the best. Yet I find myself praying that this was an accident. It happens in our line of work. A body wanders into the wrong place, the wrong time, and gets chopped by mistake. Then I get a whiff of the blade. The scent's familiar. Been bugging me all along. Too late, I realized why. When I arrived in Japan and went to see Mariko, I was ambushed, hit by shuriken coated with nerve poison, the same stuff that's on this blade. It was Yukio who nailed me that night. She works for Mariko's father, Shingen. She's been lying to me from the start, setting me up.
Logan?
You better kill me now, Yukio. You won't get a second chance. With a sound that's part laugh, part sob. She runs. So I love this so much. This is, what you'd call, I guess, the midpoint, where there's a turn. Like you think in these kinds of stories, you're supposed to go about halfway through the story thinking that your mission is A, and partway through you find out your mission's actually A1, A2, or even B.
Oh, yeah.
And now he realizes, he's been played. So he still has the problem of dealing with Mariko and her dad, whatever's going on there. But how he thinks he's going to, make his way through this adventure is now shifted. And it's some good storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
So we see her jump out the window the same way that he threw that body out.
Yep.
And again, that real minimalist background, but it reads.
I do love, by the way, just looping back to, talking about his friend's death. And he's like, he's one of the oldest and the best, which is why I said I cut his arm off only 4 panels previous. It's similar when a little bit when, Nightcrawler will poke a joke and he just pops his claws like, I'll gut you, elf. And you're like, what's that do? What the?
Crazy.
It is.
She runs. I follow. And this is another example where, to me, the inker does not do justice to the line work, the breakdowns placed there by Miller, because that face looks, I don't know. It looks like the brow is maybe overshadowed.
Yeah.
And then there's no eyes, and it just, he looks ugly, like uglier than usual. This could have been a really cool picture, like Wolverine coming out that window. This could have been a, not a splash necessarily, but a freeze frame or a still shot that just really...
you don't get the sense he's actually being propelled forward through it.
Sure.
Right?
Yes. It just could have been an image that was really emblematic of the series of him in pursuit. Wolverine on the Hunt is like the best thing ever.
Right.
And this panel could have been so much more, but it looks, I don't know, like a bit of a hatch job. Maybe that's just me. She slips through the night like a wraith. Fast, sure-footed. daring, taking impossible chances without hesitation, and succeeding every time. She's poetry in motion, a tigress. Right? She's Black Widow.
Yeah.
She's Elektra.
Yeah.
You know, Catwoman. All these femme fatales and all these different Miller stories. Just a different version of that same character. She really is, though, like 1.5 dimensional as a character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think we really get a deep portrayal of this kind of character here so far, but it's really in service of Wolverine. So I'm not going to hold it against him. But I'm a tiger. Through the street sounds, I hear her. Out of the atmospheric soup that passes for Tokyo's air, I catch her scent. In the darkness, in the light and darkness, I see her. And now, like, passing these signs in the background, these billboards. Chris, have you ever read The Dark Knight Strikes Again?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay, that might be an okay thing. So in it, Miller and Lynn Varley, who does colors, really experiment with computer rendering.
Okay.
And billboards and pop-ups, like, you know, browser pop-ups, are like a huge part of like how the narrative is conveyed.
Okay.
And different subtexts and secondary plots. So this really feels like a bit of a precursor as he's running past this.
Yeah.
Those kind of pop art images just remind me of where he's going to be in 20 years. To me, my ex-friends, says Jason Lowe, who has finished his shift at work. How are you, Jason? Thank you for joining us. Hope you are well, my friend. You've come just in time to see the end of the issue play out. And as the hunt progresses, pieces fall into place. Shingen was Asano's quarry, and Katsuyori, the last Oyabun crime lord, standing between Shingen and total control of the major gangs. Yukio conned me into helping her penetrate Katsuyori's defenses so she could kill him. I gave her my heart, and she killed my friend. And Yukio falls through a skylight or a rooftop window, a ceiling window. Race is over, darling.
Am I to die then, Logan-chan?
After what you've done, you have to ask. Yeah, that's awesome.
It is. You cannot. We are two of a kind, soulmates, born rebels, Logan, who make our own rules in a society wherein we have no place, in which there's no true place for us. I love you, Logan-chan, and you love me. Kill me and kill yourself.
She's right. Perhaps, darling, that's precisely what we both deserve. Ah!
Seize him, my brothers. Hold him fast.
You got some Storm Shadow from the G.I. Joe cartoon in that one. I'm all into it. Make sure Storm Shadow's in the hand. I'm down with that. Let's have as much Storm Shadow from G.I. Joe as possible. I loved how different his voicing was on that show. And I don't know if it reads okay today. Like if it plays... Like I know you're not doing an accent. You're just doing the texture of the voice.
Yeah,
and there's something about his delivery that was, whispery and windy. It was always kind of interesting. I also love like all these like ropes and like wires like quickly.
Yeah.
These lines get thrown around Wolverine. And this they play out in the movie too.
Yeah.
My initial reaction is that Yukio has led me into a trap. Then I catch a glimpse of her face. The hand. She's scared. But more, I think, for me than for herself. David Cutler says, I love you, Logan-chan, and you love me. We're a happy family. So this is another spot where I wasn't sure about the spreads, the 2-page spreads. So that's why I paired them this way, so that it would end up like that, which is different than the book that I'm reading it from.
Yes.
But for better or for worse. She should have known better. And then we get some classic. That's Barney. David says that's Barney. Yeah, okay. I read it like Logan because I thought that's was better serving it than doing a Barney voice, which I was never going to do. And I've also never watched Barney, so you know. And you don't have to apologize. That's okay. You can do as much Barney as you want to do. Again, no backgrounds for better or for worse. I think it reads just fine. We kind of know where he is, and just Miller playing with like fight choreography that is probably more influential on Action Comics than any other fight choreography ever had been up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he pulls the dude closer and kicks him in the face. I like to think he broke that guy's head off, like he snapped his jaw with that kick.
Right.
You know, you run into Wolverine's leg at full extension, and your head's coming off.
Yeah.
But anyway, good fun.
And those last two are particularly, you know, he's got his head down. You don't see his face.
Yeah.
He's going to go for the double strike, and he certainly does in the very last panel.
I wonder if he popped his claws before that moment.
Well, that's what right. Yeah. I think that's what we're to assume, right?
I think it's kind of fun. Sound effects would have been okay for me too if you had have kind of put it between panels, but
like pop.
or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah,
it works. When it's over, Yukio's gone. Hardly surprising. And two of the hand have her spikes in them. Was she saving me or herself? Suddenly I feel wary. The fight took place in a private garden, patterned after the classic Zen gardens of Kyoto, a place of transcendent beauty, of peace, and tranquility. No longer. The garden has been wrecked, its patterns broken, order turned to chaos. The story of my life. No matter how hard I strive for inner serenity, I screw up. So why bother? That's Yukio's philosophy. Be what you are. Why fight it? By nature, we're both scrappers. We like it. And when the need arises, we can kill. Yukio wants me the way I am. Mariko makes me want to change, to grow, to temper the berserker in me. I love them both. I failed them both. Worse, I failed myself. Because I lost myself. And yet, the patterns of life are as fluid as those of this gravel. I smooth the stones. New patterns emerge. Chaos becomes order. The wheel turns. And from that order, peace. It's a little heavy-handed, perhaps.
Ooh, yeah.
But for a 10-year-old, you know.
Yeah. But
perhaps that's the answer.
Enjoy it.
What's that?
I say I like it. That's nice.
Me too. The key isn't winning or losing. It's making the attempt. I may never be what I ought to be, want to be. But how will I know unless I try? Sure, it's scary, but what's the alternative? Stagnation. A safer, more terrible form of death. Not of the body, but of the spirit. An animal knows what it is and accepts it. A man may know what he is, but he questions. He dreams. He strives, changes, grows. You took my dreams from me, Shingen, but only for a time. Because I am a man, Shingen, not a beast. A man!
A merman!
That mistake is going to cost you. Oh my God. I'm coming for you, Shingen.
A man.
A man. I'm a man.
Dad, merman, Dad, merman.
Like I said, a little heavy-handed.
Yes.
You know, and you can like it. And that doesn't mean you can't like it.
I think the first page is tolerable about the stones and chaos.
Yeah.
The man stuff is pretty funny.
But I do think, this is Claremont, like, letting, like, he sees that Miller's doing what Miller wants, and he's also making sure that he's putting the stuff he wants.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Logan may have the black lung. I think I need to watch that movie with my kids.
I did. I watched it with Harry about a month ago, and he loved it. So he'll just walk around the house now going, "Merman, Dad, Merman."
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Harry's a fun guy, by the way. I enjoyed it hanging out with him on Friday.
I'm glad.
Yeah, he was good company at Comic-Con. Neat that, like, this is a pretty tight structure of a 4-issue series.
Yeah.
This 3rd issue really does, again, bring out that midpoint twist, and now we are really clearly moving into the 4th issue and the 3rd act, where Wolverine is going to 100% go after the Hand and Shingen and resolve as much of this as he possibly can.
Yep.
In the movie, just to do some comparison for some fun. This is the cover of the next issue, by the way. Again, he's smoking. Wolverine with a crossbow, having a smoke.
The scope.
Yeah. What is this? An institute for gifted youngsters for ants? In the movie, we have like an extra layer to the ending. He realizes in the film that there's the politician who's married to or is engaged to Mariko, and like Wolverine and Yukio, find him, and then they figure out that like Shingen's kind of paid him to assassinate his fiance. Like, so Wolverine's going quickly to go fight Shingen.
Mm-hmm.
And when he gets there, it's like another layer. But Wolverine also, they had that added element to the movie where he's diminished. His powers have been affected by essentially a character. It's Viper, also known in the comics as Madame Hydra. So Viper has got that thing in him. I mean, we later learn she's put something in there to like tap his healing factor and transmute it to the real threat of the film.
Yeah.
So Wolverine's strength is diminished. He's not healing at all from his wounds, and so he has that fight where he gets beaten, and then Yukio comes in and scoops that thing out of his system. She goes up.
It takes him to like there's like a MRI machine, like a
in the lab at the
he sees it
Ishida estate,
and he has to like stab himself in the heart. I think.
I think he goes in there and he gets it, and then he's basically dead as Shingen comes to fight Yukio, and that fight's not going to go well. I think he knocks her out even, and like then Wolverine comes to.
Yeah.
He heals from it, where we thought he was like at his lowest. He comes back like Hugh Jackman looking as what was the word he used for it? As shredded as he had ever been.
Ever was, yeah.
It's like still the photo they show when they want to show like what he did to become that character. That's still like that scene is still the epitome of who he was as a superhero. It just neat how it like plays out so differently. Mm-hmm. That story is different, and I thought a lot about re-editing that movie in some way, like trying to cut parts out and make the climax still be him versus Shingen as the main fight, but there isn't enough meat on the bone. The final act has to still be in there, unfortunately, where he fights a Silver Samurai robot. I know it's not really a robot; it's like an armored suit. And spoilers for a 10-year-old movie, but there was a lot of cool stuff in that film, nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you read ahead to the next issue? I know. Oh, you already read this series.
Yeah, I've read it. But
just he's gonna fight.
It's gonna be a fight.
Do you remember what happens between him and Yukio?
No, I don't.
Good. The thing that I'm really hoping for that doesn't happen
Hmm.
is the lady fight.
Right.
That's like one of the tropes I dislike the most, is when the two women vying for his affection have to fight each other.
Yeah.
And it's like Lois Lane and what was the third Kryptonian, like the female Kryptonian in Superman 2, that when her powers leave, like Lois Lane punches her and she falls down to the bottomless pit in the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. I remember that.
Okay. Well,
but there is a trope for sure where they have to the ladies have to square off.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we don't have to do with that anymore.
No.
Anyway, I know that we don't. What else do you want to talk about before we call it a night?
We did our Comic-Con recap.
True.
That was the first show for us for 2023, and
very exciting.
We've already got another one in the hopper. You're going to be in Montreal for the Montreal Comic Arts Festival in late May. So that's super cool. We had such a great time there last year. So stay tuned for more information about that one. And then we also have.
I got to go back to the deli. Do I have to go back to that deli for Montreal smoked meat?
Oh yeah, you need to go back to Schwartz's. Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Schwartz's. You need to go to Schwartz's.
I might go there. How many nights am I going to be there? 4 nights?
4, I think. Yeah.
I might have to go there 4 times.
4 times. Make sure you get that nice kosher dill on the side, okay? All right.
It's kosher in name only, not actually. Of course, we've got our publications. I got to take one of these out.
Wait, that one's sold out.
Sold out. There's no more. This is like the last one. This is mine. This is what I call my studio copy.
We sold our print run, our limited print run of Peregrine's The Obstacle Course. We sold that at Comic-Con. It might show up in print in some other form, but right now it's done.
It's gonzo. So our last, just over 10 copies of Krupa 7 and Most Secret Tales still available.
Mm-hmm.
But once it's gone out of print, it will not be again in this form. So if you wanted to read our groundbreaking, highly sought after, highly acclaimed. Thank you. First 6 issues made the top selling list at one of the best stores in the world called The Dragon. We made their list of what? Historical fiction. For
adults, there's one, even though it's really a book that is kind of all ages, but there was an adult one. And then we also made just the top 50 selling item of the year.
And on the historical fiction, what list was it? We were between Mouse and Ducks.
Mouse, Ducks, Kate Beaton, which is such a great book.
Yeah.
And then there was Us.
In between.
Yeah. So there you go.
So
claim to fame on a list with Mouse. There you go.
Yeah, I think that's mostly because Amy and Jen at The Dragon do an amazing job promoting our book. So thank you to them.
Yes.
And everyone else on the team at The Dragon in Guelph for pumping the tires on.
I feel like when everyone says, do you have any historical fiction books? They just go, yeah, right over there. They see that red one.
But I really want to say, like, in terms of genre and everything I've learned about what genre is, this is an action adventure historical fiction.
Yes.
So the structure of it is action adventure. It just falls in historical fiction in terms of the context. But it's not historical fiction in genre. Like the themes and anyway, never mind.
I hear what you're saying.
Also, you can get issue 7 of Group of 7 comics, issue 8, and Londinium, a Instagram formatted one shot where all the panels are square and were drawn in under 15 minutes. Every day, 3 panels posted that day. And what we got was a whole issue all about the team of peregrines exploring an adventure, and a mystery, I should say, underneath the city of London, England, and the Roman ruins.
And we are close to having our 3rd one shot go to print. Hunter's Moon. Look for that one soon. Another book, another story. Our first one set in Canada.
True.
Considering the content that we make and the comics we make, it took us to book 12 to actually set one in Canada. So there you go.
And we should find out soon what our deal is with TCAF, whether we're going or in what form are we going to be there.
Yeah, so we're on the wait list officially. You know what? I'm going to reach out, I think, this week and be like, what's up? What's up, TCAF? What's up? Are we in? Are we not? We're going to be there regardless because we love TCAF so much.
Right.
We just got to figure out in what capacity we're there.
Yes. And when you let me know what you uncover, and then we'll take steps in direction A, B, or C accordingly.
Exactly.
Yeah, you just got to tell me who to handshake. No, we'll figure out what to do.
Yeah.
So we will be at TCAF at the end of the month of April in some capacity, and then I'll be in Montreal for MCAF, and then after that, what else is happening this year? We're still waiting to hear about a couple of the shows.
Still waiting to hear from a couple of shows. We got a show in Guelph in the fall.
But just you. I can't.
Yeah, just me in that one.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what comes. We'll see. And then hopefully Fan Expo again, and do another big Toronto show, and we'll see.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm after this weekend. I'm very much looking forward to Fan Expo. I found, by the way, a bunch of art that I should have brought to Toronto Comic Con that I still have around here. I sold a decent amount of original art over the weekend, and there's some pieces here that I probably should have had, like our Peregrine's piece. That one,
nice. Yeah.
Of the four teammates there, and several others. And I also had I think it's 4 more Batman Battober pieces that are here. So that's stuff from Montreal. Basically, put it that way. Yeah. That should be a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us tonight. I hope you have enjoyed episode 72 of Previously in X-Men from Group of 7 Comics. You can find our stuff at group7comics.ca. That is the number 7, of course. You can hit us up on our socials at Group of 7 Comics. Again, number 7, as opposed to the word 7. I have been at Jason Lapidus Art. You can find me on Instagram there.
I'm at Chris Sanagan on the socials. I also want to say a shout out to a few new subscribers. Shout out to Degenerate DNA. And shout out to Brian Kessar for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Hope you enjoy it.
That's Brian with an I, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I spoke to Brian at Toronto Comic Con.
There you go.
Very cool. Thanks for subscribing, Brian. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. If you're watching this on the replay, please throw a like on there. Subscribe to the channel, and it really helps if you pop a comment in below. It really helps other people see that it's, it helps the algorithm put this in front of other people who might enjoy such content. So it's much appreciated if you're able to do that. And it's very little on your part. It means a lot to us. So thank you very much for joining us. Hope you all have a wonderful week. And of course, we will read more X-Men next time, and we'll do our best to tell great stories, right, man?
That's what we try to do.
Tell great stories. See you later. Thank you.